episode is brought to you by PlebLab. PlebLab is an Austin-based company that allows individuals and small businesses to adopt Bitcoin and utilize it in their everyday lives. The best way to protect yourself from inflation and currency debasement is to own a sound asset. And the best way to express your true self and be comfortable with who you are is by having censorship-resistant money. So buy some Bitcoin, check out PlebLab. Let's go. Welcome to episode 109, Convos in the Pedicab. We got conservative influencer, and are you an e-girl a little bit?
No, I've distanced myself from the e-girls as much as possible.
All right. We got conservative commentator. You're an IG influencer. You're kind of like kind of a big deal on Instagram. You're in the 5-figure follower mark. So got Kaylee Campbell. Excited to see you.
Hi, great to be here.
You want to tell us how we met?
Okay, yeah. So we both go to the Democratic.
We went to the Texas Democrat Convention.
Yes,
about
that was in
July,
Dallas.
right?
Yeah,
Or in June or July, or
it was like way back.
Yeah, it was July.
July.
Yeah, July.
Yeah, so I go there with my friend Lily Kate, and we go undercover because we want to get content and we actually want to get in. And we're walking around, and we see Alex and his friend standing there. And we're like, okay, we're going to go up to them because y'all were disguised too. So we were like, perfect. We're going to go see if we can get them stumped or whatever. So then we walk up to them and we start talking. And I made the mistake of mentioning just 2,000 mules straight up. And we both made a face. And then we like leaned in. We were like, are you here to do the same thing?
Yeah, pretty much. Yes. So I first saw you and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get some gold content right now. Like...
that means I was undercover pretty well.
Yeah, I was like, I'm about to get some gold. And so, I started talking about all the disinformation and all the vaccine. I just say all the CNN, CIA talking points, right? Like the World Economic Forum talking points, all that stuff, right? And I'm trying to embody it as much as possible. And then all of a sudden, you start asking me about 2,000 mules, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're literally messing up my act right now. Like, right. What are you doing? And I got real awkward. I was like, what the what?
Yeah, there was like a few long seconds of like silence where we were just standing there like, wait a minute.
Did you think I was actually... I must have been really good in disguise then.
Yeah. No, I was convinced. Like that's why we walked up to you. Because I was like, okay, they seem, by themselves good enough to ask them questions. And so I was convinced.
The guy I was with was pretty bad at being undercover though.
He looked like a frat boy.
I was like, you cannot dress like you. I was doing really good when I was there.
Yeah.
I made friends with this lady.
Yeah.
I think she kind of liked me too, which is like a little bit awkward. But I'm like, all right, you got to kind of like play into it a little bit because she knew people. She like knew county chair. She was real involved.
Yeah.
And so I was like, wanted to say all these points and try to like literally get these people out, get video footage of these people just exposing themselves for being blatant fascists.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got some video footage of this one dude who was a delegate telling me that like he doesn't talk to his friends anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Or his family because they voted for Trump. Or if you're a Republican, I don't even vote for you because you're a racist and this and that.
Yeah.
I like, he pretty much got him to say that like the unvaccinated don't belong in society and all, like just saying it out loud, right?
They just say the dumbest stuff.
Well, that's all right. And then I had this other lady, who I think was like a placeholder in like some school district or something. She had a pretty important thing, and I basically like said that they should check I basically got her to like admit that they should check your social media history to see if you should own a fire, in order to like allow you to own a firearm. And to be honest, like, they should probably do the same thing if you're about to have children too, right? Like I just wanted to see like how far you push the envelope, right? And she like kind of agreed with it. She seemed like in agreement. And I have a video. I'll show you the video of it afterwards. But like, I was doing really good. And then you guys came along and blew my fucking spot up.
It was so.
You blew up my spot at this meeting. Like I couldn't go back to this lady because I was like, oh, I think these people might think I was like, I'm like a right winger now because I'm like,
right.
Tony was good.
Yeah.
Tony's brown, and they're like, okay, you can't get mad at the brown kid.
Right. True.
But Steven looked like a total fucking frat boy. Looked totally out of place, and I'm just like, and I'm wearing a mask. I have my communism shirt.
Right. I think you had a fanny pack on.
Well, I still have this fanny pack on.
Oh, well, there it is.
Yeah. Had everything, and like. I was I was about to talk to some like lady who was running as a candidate. You're stepping on the mic. Okay.
Uh-oh.
And then you start talking to her about abortion, and I'm like, oh fuck, she's gonna think we're together. She doesn't want to talk to me now. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
Oh my god, that reminds me of that one.
we got to work on your
interview.
undercover.
We do.
Kaylee,
We do.
We really have to talk about. We really got to work on your ability to go. We got to work on your undercover game.
I can dye my hair purple again.
You got to dye your hair purple.
Okay, I've got the tattoos.
You
I'll
gotta-
dye my hair purple.
You look like you blend in.
I'll put my nose rings back in.
Yeah. So
I mean,
all right.
I
So
did
let's.
blend in at one point, like fully. It was really good.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question though.
Yeah.
Have you always been conservative?
Yes.
Oh, like always.
Yeah. Like I think looking back, like my old friend group, they were very like Christian liberals, but
What's a Christian liberal?
that's a great question because they don't exist. They contradict everything that they say, but
Well, I mean, like you could, like, I guess you could be like, well, I believe in God, but maybe we shouldn't have a border wall or something like that. Like it could be like
Right.
that, right? Like you're just
They were
not
like-
that informed.
they were like- yeah, they were pro-choice and like Christian and they believed in God, but it's like that doesn't even correlate.
I mean, I guess so, right? You could also just say like, hey, I'm pro-choice because I don't want the government to tell me what to do, but like, you know, God isn't happy with you killing your own kid.
Right.
You could kind of be like that, like, which is where kind of I'm at, right? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
just, you know, that's between you and God to do what you're doing with your own
True.
with your own baby. Like I don't want to. I'm not here to mess with you. Just you know, I wouldn't do it.
Right. Advise them that murder's probably not the
Yeah,
best idea.
I wouldn't do it, but like, you know.
Yeah.
Do you want to pass a sweeping law to ban this during an election year when the other option is fascism and food shortages? Maybe we should have held back on this. Maybe you know, like maybe like you don't do that law just yet. You like make sure you get like people in office who actually want to like make it so we live in America before
Right.
you start even having that discussion.
Yeah.
But no, let's just go do it right now and get a bunch of fucking young dumb college kids who are just
Yeah.
trying to get laid all the time, because that's what I was like when I was in college. They're gonna, what do you think they're gonna vote for?
The
You think they
left.
want baby mamas?
I mean, no.
No. Like, let's just do that. Let's just go alienate a bunch of young people from us. Yeah, what could go wrong? You know,
Right. Yeah.
what could go wrong? I bought a bunch of what could go wrong? I own, I own a few $100,000 in commodities, so I'm gonna do great if we get food shortages. What's the problem?
Exactly.
Sorry.
I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong. But, I mean, to answer your original question, yeah, I've pretty much always been conservative. Because I grew up conservative, but I did, before I got into politics, I went to one BLM rally. And that's just because I enjoyed the chaos and I wanted to be there and see what would happen. So we went down there. And I took two of my friends with me, like my original friends. And they were like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I'm like, I thought this is what you guys support. Why don't you want to be here? Why don't you want to go walk with them? And did you know that if you're white and you walk during a BLM rally, they'll like scowl at you and get mad at you because they don't want you to support them?
No, that's I don't know if that's true, because it's mostly at this point now it's mostly white people
That is true.
that
is
have
true.
co-opted this thing.
That is very true. But the people that were at that protest were very angry that we were even supporting them.
I think it depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
BLM is a weird it's a weird so here's my take on this stuff, right? with
Yeah.
the majority of people that are at BLM rallies
Mm-hmm.
are genuine, like that are there just in protest, right?
Yeah.
The majority of the everyday people that are marching at the BLM rally are probably nice, regular people who
Mhm.
just don't want racism.
Right.
That's really what they are.
Yeah.
Right? The problem with these movements is the organizers. It's the organizers and the politicians
Yeah.
who piggyback off of these movements, and the funding that these movements receive from large mega corporations
Right.
to get the organizers to do things that are completely antithetical to what the regular people want.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, hey, let's talk about income inequality. Right. Let's talk about like mega billionaires controlling everything and not paying their share of taxes, or or the fact that like 1% of the population has like 90% of the research. Like,
Yeah.
that's the message, right?
Right.
But then like the 1% are the biggest financiers of this movement. So when you destroy something, well, you're not destroying a mega corporation. You're destroying like somebody's small business, which is only going to make the mega corporation richer,
Right.
and it's only going to give the banks more power, and it's only going to strengthen the alliance between banks and governments. So I think that once people start understanding what this movement is actually designed to do, and that its intention is a lot different from the outlying message, it loses support, and then it can't really get done.
Yeah.
And I think you're seeing that now.
Oh, yeah, because they're getting exposed. And I don't think that if people want to march around and talk about how Black Lives Matter, by all means, please do. But do your research and understand, like, these people that are running the company are taking millions of dollars and putting it towards things that they want, like cars and security and houses and things like that, which has already been exposed. And then, of course, you said the small businesses thing. Biden administration has proven time and time again they don't care about small businesses. They want small businesses to disappear.
Yeah, but but to be fair, a lot of stuff happened a lot of bad stuff was happening under Trump. Like companies in the New York Stock Exchange are getting larger PPP loans than smaller companies too.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is an underlying problem that's been taking place no matter what your identification is. The only difference between Trump and Biden is that Trump was a lot more relaxed with how he governed and was not actively suppressing people who disagreed with him.
Right.
Whereas Biden is using whatever tool he has to try to actively suppress anybody who disagrees with him.
Yeah.
That's what the difference is. And you also had a president who governed in a way that if you owned investable assets, or if you were a small business owner, or if you had like an entrepreneurial mindset, it was a lot easier to close that gap because there were just more opportunities presented to you. Whereas like the Biden administration has a lot more bureaucratic workarounds that you have to go through to like actually try to catch up. But then they will virtue signal about how bad income inequality is. I'm like, well, yeah, like you're doing that because you're like bottlenecking me from trying to do what I'm doing. Like you're not letting people drill. In America, like for oil in America, for oil in America, you're trying to sanction Russian oil,
right?
And you're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine with no accountability, because you don't know without accountability for where the money's going, while we're in the midst of rampant inflation. So like you're actively making life harder for us for no reason.
Yeah.
Whereas like with Trump, it's like, okay, maybe I don't know. Maybe you shouldn't drill next to a body of water because of fish and wildlife, and maybe we should be a little more careful with where we drill, like on somebody's land if someone's trying to grow their own food and not be in a city. Right? Maybe we should be a little smarter about that.
Yeah.
But you're still keeping the supply of oil flowing. There's still food. You're not going to create as much inflation because there's going to be there'll be more growth and more supply.
Right.
You need growth. Stopping the money printer is one way to stop inflation. Destroying demand is a way to fight inflation, which is what they're trying to do. But another thing is to just like ramp up growth and supply, because the more circulating supply exists, the less there's inflation.
Right.
So it's just an economic disaster.
Yeah. I wish I would have paid more attention to my economic classes. I'm not gonna lie.
Should have paid attention to your economic classes.
One thing I could have learned in college, amongst the other things that I
didn't really do much of anything in college. I drank a lot.
Yeah. I didn't drink that much, but I was in a sorority for a little bit.
You were? What happened?
Ugh, it was terrible. It was awful. Greek life.
What school did you go to?
What?
What school did you go to?
University of North Texas.
You went to UNT? All right.
Yeah.
So were you always were you always like conservative, or were you always just like, I lean more conservative because my parents are more conservative, but I didn't really know what's going on?
I would say, so like I did try to like focus on a lot, because that was always discussions at like family reunions and like dinner, and I knew what I believed in, like the basis of it, but like I remember being 2008 was when Obama was elected, right?
How old are you?
I was 9. I'm 23 now.
Okay, 23. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was 9 when Obama got elected, and I remember being angry about it, but I was too young to know why. I was just like, everybody else around me is angry about it, so I'm going to be angry about it too. But then the more I started paying attention, the more I started developing all of my views.
To be fair, it would have been no different than McCain anyway. It was sad.
That's
but
true.
Anyways.
And I mean, now we're seeing like, we can go back.
McCain, yes.
Yeah. All of the politicians
are
in
all
the past.
Are all the fucking
yes,
same. Okay,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And I wish, I can't say I wish I would have paid attention more, because I did what I could at the ages that I was at. But then once I got into college, because I grew up in a small town, so it wasn't really like growing up in a big city, like how kids will be in Frisco and McKinney now, where they're seeing the stuff actively happen in schools. Like my small town was like kind of everybody just feels the same way and nobody really talks about it. But I will forever remember my senior year U.S. history teacher because we were watching the Clinton versus Trump election. And
God, you were a senior in high school back then. Holy shit.
Yeah, I graduated in 2017.
All right.
So 2016 was when we were watching that.
Were you born in the 90s?
99.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I'm that close. I'm that close.
Wow. Okay.
I take credit for it as much as I can.
All right.
But overall, by the time I got to college and I started witnessing how the left acts at the age that we're at, it just really like zoned me into like wanting to know why they act the way that they act, and then kind of just deep diving into everything that I do now.
So what did you find?
A lot of them have severe emotional issues and mental issues, and that's why they act this way.
Can you like what?
The fatherless homes. That's a lot of what I've seen. I mean,
okay.
Not saying that everybody who doesn't have a father acts that way, but it is a higher trend when you look at the statistics.
Sure.
But they lack whatever parental love and development that they did not have growing up, because they feel the need. The reason that they all get together and the reason that they all like choose each other as a family is because they think they find love and support from the things that they support. Like if you look at these people, they wholeheartedly believe in what they're doing. Like when we go to these protests, you see the Antifa and all of the liberals just standing there, and they are so passionate about what they're doing, but they've been so manipulated over the years to believe that these people agree with them.
So I want to say something.
Yeah.
What do you think the socioeconomic background of most of these like Antifa protesters are?
Socioeconomic?
Yeah. How do you think they grew up? We're talking about the Antifa protesters.
Right. Not gonna lie, the majority of them are like skinny white kids, so honestly, they probably were
upper middle class, wealthy white kids.
Yeah.
They probably went to private schools, some of them.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask another question.
Yeah.
Did you hang out with a lot of rich kids when you were younger?
No.
Okay.
I was in band.
Oh, good. All right. Well, all right. So, I grew up in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Dang.
And I had some friends that went to private schools.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about like the private schools where like, you know, they train you to be one of the lizards running things at the World Economic Forum.
Right.
Right.
That makes sense.
Like you're gonna be, if you play all your cards right and if you know the right people and if you get into the right college and if you have the right network of friends,
yeah,
you too can join the cabal of lizards.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those people.
Yeah.
All right. And in many cases, in order to do this, like your dad's the CEO of a bank,
mm-hmm.
you know, you're an investment banker, you're a partner at a law firm, you're
right.
somebody who's lobbying congressmen, you're doing all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
I didn't understand or fully get it because when I met the parents, hey, dad's really nice, we're watching basketball together, we're watching the Yankees, like that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
You know, and they were real cool, charismatic, like pretty chilled, nice people, very easy to talk to, right? But they were never around.
Right.
They're working all the time because
yes.
you have to. You have to be super type A, super driven, super in that circle.
Yeah.
And so what happens is when you're like that, you whatchamacallit, you lose involvement with your own kids.
Yes.
Okay. And so what happens is the kids raised by nannies. They hang out with other kids who are raised by nannies.
Yeah.
Mom and dad give you $800 a week for allowance because you have an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing drugs all the time. The housing project is 10 blocks away from the school that you go to.
Right.
Because that's how New York is.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just, and then the person teaching you is either A, a sheltered rich kid, or B, like some communist.
Right. One or the other.
Yeah, and then you have no mom, and mom and dad, and nobody is like really paying attention or nurturing your development. And so you're raised by the television.
Mm-hmm.
And the television is, and you know how the media is and the music industry is and all that stuff is. So you're raised by these entities that are, for better or for worse, trying to influence and manipulate you to think a certain way.
Yes.
And you're hanging out with friends and you have nothing to really do, and you have too much free time and you're just doing drugs all the time.
Right.
And there's no family structure, and you know, mom and dad are having affairs with each other constantly. It's a mess, right?
There's absolutely
so it's not
no
like
structure.
dad is absent. It's just like there's like these rich kids, like these super rich kids, and like super poor kids are raised with the same lack of family structure, and that's why
Yeah.
that's why if you look at the ultra wealthy kids and ultra like ghetto kids,
Yeah.
they're really similar.
That is true.
They
I've
are
never thought about it
they
that
are
way,
very
actually.
there's an
Yeah.
extreme level of similarity with those kids, right?
Yeah.
So you see a lot of a lot of those kids too feels that everything should be given to them
Right.
because
The
you get that
entitlement.
allowance,
Mm-hmm.
and the little hood ass kid from the project thinks everyone should be given to them because you're getting those welfare checks.
Right. Wow.
So
yeah.
it's a lot. There's a lot of extreme similarities. So a lot of the
Yeah.
people that become like these the Antifas are usually the skinny white kids from private schools,
Yeah.
or the people that grew up really wealthy with parents that were not super involved in their kid's life.
Yeah.
And the reason it's those white kids and not like the ghetto black kid from the project is because like, you have more pressing things that you have to focus on living in poverty than living in wealth.
True. Yeah. They just want to find things to belong to because they're bored.
Yeah. So that's my rant on that. And I think a lot of people need to understand.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Understand that. And I also think that that's why it's mostly like, that's why leftism is now becoming co-opted. It's more of a coastal elite thing than like a ghetto thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like I used to wear, I'm sorry if I'm like monopolizing this, but like I used to during COVID I had a Captain America mask on that I wore.
Yeah.
That just was like that,
Yeah.
And I wore that mask because I'm like, and because they said wear a mask, so I wore a Captain America mask.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, of course.
And so I'd be like, hey, and my sales pitch was like, get in, boys, we're fighting socialism. And you know who liked that? You know who reacted the best to this stuff?
Who?
And you know who reacted the best to like the conspiracy theory rap songs?
Who?
Fucking ghetto black people and Mexicans. Ghetto black people and Mexicans were the ones who reacted the best to that.
Yeah.
And you know who like got the most offended and got the most annoyed?
The white
Fucking
kids.
white leftist liberals are the ones, right? And
Yep.
I think that in terms of like having dialogue and being able to communicate, conservatives do not understand that yet.
Yeah. That's a good point. There's a lot of disconnect when it comes to the audiences that we can reach because, I'm pretty sure during Trump, like he had a very high amount of support from other groups, whether it was the black people or the Mexicans and things like that, which is something they don't want to tell you, of course.
Well, it's higher than a lot of other Republicans.
Right. Yeah. And so reaching these people, like I feel like conservatives a lot of the time, and maybe I'm guilty of this a little bit, throw people into certain stereotypes and assume. Like I've had multiple conversations with different types of people who've at the end of the day come to agree with things that I say, although they don't look like they would agree with what I'd say. And I think that that's important to realize because we have more support than we give ourselves credit for.
Okay. I also want to say too,
Yeah.
we were talking about why people are like this,
Mhm.
right? We went on a whole tangent about why lack of family and why it plagues mostly like rich, wealthier kids.
Yeah.
Who've never had to really struggle with any real. It's also kids that never have to struggle with real adversity that want to create a struggle so they can feel like they can be a part of something.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those types of kids.
Yes.
But another reason why you see a lot of this stuff and I see a lot of mental illness is because of what we are eating and what we're consuming.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I think that the biggest problem I have with like conservative commentators is they'll like talk at people and they'll be like, the left is mentally ill. They're crazy. You crazy weird leftists and this and that, and you sound like Laura Ingraham or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or even Candace Owens or whatever. And I like her. I think what she says about vaccines is like super spot on, right? But like
Right.
in general, like from how she communicates, it's not an inviting, loving way of communicating.
It's a very direct
It's very
way.
abrasive. It's very abrasive. It's a very like abrasive way in which people are being talked at versus being talked to.
Right.
I
can see that.
And I think that like
I see that from fellow influencers all the time.
it's really bad, and it turns people off to this stuff.
Yes.
But like nobody really has a discussion about like, well, dude, like instead of yelling about what you think a problem is or calling people names, why don't you like really dissect and examine why it is and explain why it's happening so the average person who's a fence sitter who doesn't care about politics says, yo, this person is making sense. Like,
yes.
I agree with that. We should fix that. We should reach out. We should do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like the food that we feed kids in lunchrooms is the same food that they give people in prisons.
Yes. Which is not good.
Sodexo. The food that you eat at the grocery store, they don't have you seen the movie Food Incorporated?
Mm-mm.
You gotta watch that movie. But like they're legally not required to tell you if there's GMOs in your food when you go to the store.
That's so bad.
When you buy meat from a meat processor, do you know how like animals are stored at meat processing plants?
Pretty bad.
Do you know?
Just shoved. I've seen videos where
Yeah.
they're just like shoved in these nasty places, and they're all right next to each other, and they're
and the shit is in there, and the shit when they poop,
yes,
it gets processed in with the meat that you're eating. So you're eating literal shit.
Yeah.
And you're eating steroids, and not even eating anything like health. You're not even getting nutritional value from like processed meat because they're eating grain instead of grass. So you're eating like sickness.
Yeah. There's a whole big thing about the grain and the wheat and how they process the wheat. And have you heard the whole thing about how gluten allergies don't even exist?
No, I don't hear it.
Okay, so gluten allergy doesn't exist. If you have a gluten allergy, you don't have one. Sorry. But basically,
Right.
all the wheat that they're processing and growing has been sprayed with some chemical, and it gets processed in when they do all the wheat manufacturing and all of that. And so those get included in this wheat, and it's in bread, it's in pasta, it's anything you can make wheat with, it's in it. So all these people eating pasta and eating bread and chips and crackers and being like, oh, well, it makes my stomach hurt. It's not that. It's literally the chemicals that they put in these wheat plants or whatever, wheat fields, when they're going and growing it, I guess. And it just gets included in with all of it.
Yes. All right. But anyway, this brings us to communication.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, do you think there's a problem with like, because you're pretty big into this culture stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think that like all this LGBTQ messaging is a problem?
From our side or from their side?
Just in general, from society, for society.
Okay. I believe that the way that they're pushing it in society is a little much, because I've always said if you give these people an inch, they take a mile.
Okay.
So with it being pushed in schools and movies and TV shows and books and in church and all of this stuff, I feel like they're overdoing it.
Okay, fair. All right. Why do you think they're overdoing it?
They either feel like they're not being heard, or they want to, I don't know. I feel like they feed off of the control aspect. And
Okay.
it's always been like,
All right,
you're good.
sorry. Okay. Do you think that the food that people consume at large, and the chemicals in the water that people consume at large, and the fluoride that people use to brush their teeth, and the prescription medications that people get overprescribed, do you think that could have a profound effect on sexual orientation and gender function over time?
Yeah, I'd say if you're putting chemicals in your body, it's definitely altering
It
the
can
way
alter
that
your hormones, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. And do you think that maybe this is being done not because they want to push a gay agenda, but as a way for the food companies and for the chemical companies and oil companies and pharma companies to cover their tracks and not face accountability?
Yeah, that could make sense. Definitely.
Right. I think that could be just as much of a factor as in like, yo, they're just trying to turn us all gay and feminine, like, you know, like
The soy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These fucking soy boys, you know, like I think that like understanding that perspective and communicating that perspective, I think is a more effective way to communicate that than to just rant about
Right.
the gay agenda.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you're not getting through to a left-leaning person or a leftist by
Yelling at them.
yelling, but you could get through to somebody who's left-leaning by talking about what the food companies are doing.
Yeah. Because everybody's
Like
kind
that,
of
you know what I mean? I think that like
unbiased on food companies.
and conservatives aren't doing that.
Yeah.
You're not like, no one's like going in there and like holding the food companies accountable, because like, yo, if you voted for Bernie Sanders, you should hold processed food companies accountable, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's what Bernie would do. Bernie Sanders would hold the processed food companies accountable. At least that's what he says.
Yeah.
The average Bernie voter should want to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
So I think that the messaging should be like, let's talk about what the food companies are doing and the effect that they're having on children, and why we think that this effect is happening, and what the end result of that effect is going to be. That's how you win the war. That's how you win the culture war.
Yeah. Well, there's always something
If that
deeper
makes-
too.
yes,
It does make
yes.
sense. Yeah, it's always deeper than just what we're seeing like on the surface level. And you're right. A lot of people aren't talking about it. I don't know if it's because they're too scared to talk about it.
They don't know about it.
Well, yeah, that's true. I've seen a few people post about, like getting organic meat and not eating anything from fast food companies as I sit here with my McFrappe in my purse.
Well, you're on the go. It is what it is. You do it, right?
Yeah, but that's how they drag you in, too. It's like, if you can hold yourself accountable. Like, going on a diet isn't fun. Eating organic meat, I mean, for like 2 months straight, I spent eating just like chicken and rice. And I was like, this is good, but it's not fun. But it made me feel healthier. So there's a lot of,
But then if you're feeling healthy, you have to do something that gives your life purpose. If
Right.
you're not doing anything that gives your life purpose, you're eventually just going to go back to comfort food.
Right.
It's the same thing, too, with, like, all right. You ever, like, if it's personal, don't answer it.
You're good.
You ever, like, cheated on a boyfriend before?
No, actually, I haven't.
Good shit. All right.
But I have been cheated on.
What?
I have been cheated
on. Of course
on.
Yeah. Everybody. All right. So, like, generally speaking, like, the guy that has cheated on you, do you think that guy was, like, fulfilled in his life?
No.
Hell
He's
no.
not.
Absolutely not. Like, because you can't be fulfilled in life and do stuff like that.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Because that stuff fucks with your energy. It fucks with your aura. It, like, messes your trajectory up when you do that stuff.
Yes.
Right? And there's, like, science to back that up. So, like, no. So the point is that, like, you can only have good life habits and be healthy and do these things if there is a greater purpose for why you're doing what you're doing. If there's no greater underlying purpose for it, you're going to fall back into that routine.
Yeah.
Like, me and my girlfriend have been together for 5.5 years.
Uh-huh.
Never cheated on her.
Yeah.
Never did anything. Before I met her, I never had a longer relationship than 5 months.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay? And a big reason for that is because I never really had any purpose to why I was doing anything.
Right. Yeah.
And when I met my girlfriend, I was like trying to fight amateur MMA. I was getting ready for a fight and all that stuff. And so I was like very focused on doing one thing.
Right.
And it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to fight. I'm going to go get a girlfriend right now. It was like, you're doing this for like a couple years, being serious about all this stuff. And you just all of a sudden have this lifestyle where you're like focused on, you have a routine, you have something that you're going to do. And then you meet a girl who's like a personal trainer and who works in the fitness industry that has a lifestyle that's like similar to your lifestyle, so it works and it fits.
Yeah.
And then, over a period of months, you're like, oh wow, like I crashed my car and she came and got me 30 miles away. Like,
Aww.
Yeah, this is a good person. Like, this is somebody that I can rely on. And then the more you know each other, the more you're like, I trust this person. This person will never betray me. This person's never gonna steal from me. This person's we may fight a lot. This person may not be like that interested in like doing what I'm doing, but she's not gonna leave me if
like
I
the
fail.
Tiniest thing.
You know what I mean? Like, she'll still be there when I move on to the next project and the next project. She'll just support whatever I'm doing.
That's love.
Yeah. And so, throughout the process of our relationship, it's like, okay, I want to do my fight. Then I had a head injury. And so, like, I started getting really creative after this head injury I got.
There you go. I've heard of things like that happening before.
It's kind of, right? I started getting really creative. And I started making these rap songs. And then I decided to be the mayor of Austin, try to be the mayor of Austin. I don't know if you saw those videos, but like I tried to.
I didn't actually.
Okay. Then after that, I was like, okay, well, now I just want to have some money. And then I kind of was like, that's all I was focused on. And I was like, well, I tried to do all this stuff. Nothing worked out. I'm ready to just have money, build wealth, and figure out just being a regular, normal, average guy and be okay with it. Yeah. And then lockdowns happened. And then all of a sudden I got reinvigorated to do all this stuff. Started the podcast.
Yeah.
Met Stein, started trolling things, and now I'm back doing this, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm doing something with an extreme sense of purpose.
Yes.
And because I'm doing something with an extreme sense of purpose, like, I don't want to do anything that's going to mess up the trajectory that I'm on.
Absolutely.
And if you're not on a trajectory, you're a lot more likely to like cheat on a diet. You're a lot more likely to like not work out. You're a lot more likely to like watch porn all the time. You're a lot more likely to like cheat on your girlfriend. You're just a lot more likely to like use drugs irresponsibly.
Yeah.
You're a lot like, and I think that there's got to be a messaging on like, you have to have purpose, like real purpose, and that purpose has to just be nurtured and supported, even if it is antithetical to like what you disagree with.
Right. Yeah. I think your lifestyle pretty much holds you accountable for the type of person that you're going to be in society. So you can have that type of reminder and reassurance when you're building who you want to be as a person and just try to live your life the best you can, be healthy, try to be successful, and have people surround you that love you and support you and care about you. But like you said, like what we do is very fulfilling because it gives us a sense of purpose of like, well, we're fighting for the truth, we're fighting for what's right.
What do you ultimately want to see happen from this? Why are you putting yourself out there?
I enjoy the chaos. I'm not even gonna like sugarcoat that. But I will say that I would like to see really just a rise, because going through everything that I've done so far, there's too many people out there who don't like share their voice. There's too many people who maybe feel the same way but are too afraid to speak up. And so I feel like having a community where, you know, there's a certain group of people that feel the same way, like gives the voices who want to be heard but don't feel like they are a chance to actually talk, because like the censorship is real and I don't want to see that get worse, because the more we lose our voice and our like right to free speech, then the more the left is going to take over. But I don't want to see like our society continue to go down the path that it's already going down, because it makes me scared to raise a family in the future.
Okay, I'm in the same boat. I want to live in the United States. I want to feel like I have I want my future kids to grow up with the same advantages that I grew up with. I want to be able to like actually that's literally what I want. You know, like I was still raised. I'm older than you. I'm like 13 years older than you, right?
Okay,
so I was still raised to like love America when I was a kid.
Exactly, yeah.
And so when you see what's happening right now, you're seeing an attack on like what makes America a great country.
Yeah. And I don't want to
which is freedom, which is free speech, free expression,
right.
limited government and local involvement, and people are trying to use a virus, and they're trying to like use how many people are dying from this virus
to guilt everybody
to like get people to like maybe re-examine these values.
Right.
But these values are the reason why we live in this country, and one of the things that you got to understand is that because we have these values, we're just not going to do pandemics as well as China. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And that comes with living in America, and that's fine. We
don't have to be like every other country. We're our own country for a reason. I think that what they're doing with how they're teaching the kids with like some of the CRT stuff and everything, you're weaponizing stuff that we've done in the past, which we shouldn't have done, and it's bad. Right. And you should always communicate that this is bad and why it's bad and how we're fixing this and how we fixed it. But it's being weaponized to generate open hostility towards the United States of America for future generations, so that the next time there is an emergency, there is no free speech. There is no constitution. Right.
You don't get to own a gun and defend yourself from tyranny.
Right.
Cops, we're going to normalize cops coming to your house and arrest you for not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
That's, you look at Australia, what they did during COVID, and, you know, it doesn't work now, but if you brainwash the next generation of kids, then it's a lot more likely to work in the future. And you know, one of the keys to like having freedom is like self-discipline. Yeah. Right? Because in order to like really be free, you have to be able to like operate independent of a larger entity providing you with things.
Right.
And if a larger entity is providing you with food, you know, shelter, healthcare, all this stuff, and you're dependent on them, then you have to follow their rules. But if you can function and be like self-sufficient as much as possible, you don't need these entities, so you're more likely to like speak out and govern yourself in a way that you don't have to
and they hate that.
To comply with that, right?
They literally hate that.
So like when the next generation of kids isn't going to know what gender they are, they're going to be that much more likely to like need the state for all their functions.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's what I think needs to be communicated, and you can still communicate that in a way by also not making gay people feel like they're like being neglected or being like mistreated or being, you know, brought back to the 1930s.
Yeah.
And I think that like conservatives got to do better at that. That's my like 2 cents on that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get these people to like, because these people, it looks as though like the powers that be are trying to weaponize marginalized groups to manufacture consent for tyranny. And in order to like stop that from happening, these like marginalized groups cannot feel like we're the ones marginalizing them. That's my rant.
We want them on our side.
Yes.
We would want them on our side in an event of like a civil war going down in America. which is, I feel like, the goal. Earlier you mentioned, like, it made me think of, like, just common patriotism that we have as United States citizens. And it's like, if you look back after 9/11, the whole country was united. Now, you know, our parents have spent years and years trying to remind us of that. And then now kids in school either don't even see those videos anymore, couldn't care less about 9/11. And it's just slowly fading.
We could do a whole another episode about 9/11. But that's
could.
another thing entirely. Like 9/11 also used fake patriotism to get conservatives to consent to the Patriot Act, mass surveillance, fake weapons of mass destruction, senseless wars.
Yes.
Turning on the money printer, that is a great doing point. A lot of really bad stuff to us also.
Yeah.
So
I love watching the 9/11 conspiracy videos.
I mean, conspiracy.
I say conspiracy because it's the truth.
Yeah, you know, Marvin Bush only got like the largest payout in history when he owned the lot next to Building 7. But don't worry about it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, hey. They hate our freedom.
Yeah.
They hate our freedom, guys.
Yeah.
But all right. Hey, do you own any Bitcoin? Well, let's start. Okay. How many times have you been canceled?
Well,
Let's start. All right. We
banned.
got about 5 minutes. Okay, that's fine.
Banned on TikTok 7 times. Demonetized on Instagram. I'm in Facebook jail right now. Twitter IP banned me. I can't make a Twitter account anywhere. So canceled. I don't know. I feel like I got canceled more from social media than I have like the community.
Well, that's very nice. Do you own any Bitcoin?
I did at one point.
What happened?
I sold it.
What, did you make a profit?
Yeah, I made $10.
Why don't you? Why
I'll put more money in.
I'm just saying, like, you know, you've been canceled 6 times. There's literally a movement to censor people who disagree with regime narratives.
Yes.
And they're targeting you digitally, and they're going to target you financially, and eventually they're going to start rolling out central bank digital currencies where if you are a threat to the narrative, you don't participate in society. Bitcoin fixes that.
Yeah.
People like you and me need that.
Yeah. I wish I understood it more. I wish I did understand it. There's a book called The Bitcoin Standard. I'm going to send you an audiobook. Please do.
You got to learn about it.
Okay.
Start going to Bitcoin meetups in your city or in Dallas or in Denton. They have a bunch of these all over the country. Go to meetups and learn.
Okay.
Because you can't fight tyranny or fascism if you're dependent on the system that enables that, and if you're only using traditional fiat systems, you're you're about as useless as the mask that people had to wear during COVID when it comes to that.
Yeah.
So that's my my little lecture on that. All right. I think we talked about pretty much everything, right? We got everything. Oh yeah. Last thing. If there is a civil war, who do you think is winning?
Us, because we have guns.
Okay. That's cute. Who do you think is gonna fight on the other side?
The millionaires. Well, no, because I still think that they're just putting up this whole.
You think it's gonna be a bunch? You think it's gonna be a bunch of like gun-toting patriots versus a bunch of they-thems, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's it actually gonna look like?
Well, why do you, all right. Why do you think they're flooding the border, and why do you think they're emptying all the jails right now and not charging people with not keeping people in prison for committing violent crimes?
We're going to have a bunch of immigrants and prisoners running around killing us.
That's what I think.
It's gonna be like a purge.
People aren't paying attention to that, right? Like, it's not the they-thems. They're gonna get fucking slaughtered by these ghetto motherfuckers anyway. They're fucking useless. Those guys are fucking useless. Yeah, those guys are useless.
My dad would call them cannon fodder.
The they-them Antifas that you see at these meetings, they're not even worth fighting over. Like, you just just be cool with them and like, hey, I'm here for this one purpose. Hey, nice to meet you. What's up? This is why I'm upset. Most people
won't even talk to me when I'm there though. Like, I want to ask them questions, but
yeah, because I also see how you talk to people.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I see how you talk to people. Of course, you're not gonna want to talk to
Sometimes.
All right, but that's fine. All right, it's just food for thought. I think that a lot of people are like overconfident, like thinking, "Oh, there's a civil war. We're gonna destroy this other side." I'm like, no.
That's a good point.
First of all, you should never let that happen, right? And you should always be kind and peaceful to people. But if people are really worried about that stuff, you should be eating really healthy. You should be training. You should be going to an MMA gym. You should be building a close-knit community of people that you love.
Yeah.
And that should be your primary goal. And you should be optimizing yourself as much as possible. But anyway, Kaylee, how do we get a hold of you?
You can follow me on Instagram at the Kaylee Campbell because that's where I'm most active. For now, yes. Who knows? I get remonetized soon, so
Oh, good
we'll
for
see.
you.
Yeah, it only took 8 months.
That's fine.
And then
Must be nice to get paid for your work. Must be nice. I wish I was a super hot girl. That'd be. Maybe I'd get paid too. Anyway, keep going.
I get on Getter occasionally and Truth Social, but I have my show. It's on Twitch, YouTube. It's called What's Your Point?
Okay.
And I go live almost every night. I need to work on that. But
cool.
Monday through Friday.
Put
What's
me on
your
the show
point?
one day, Kaylee.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, blow me up.
Yeah.
They're like literally algorithmically shadow banning me. If I was a pretty girl, I'd have like 100,000 followers right now. I'm putting out gold. Anyway, Kaylee Campbell, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right.